British roast beef dinner. Right, I've got 2.094 kilograms of, this is Irish beef. It's this is top rump. So top rump is slightly more fatty and it roasts a little bit better than top side or silver side. And we got it at half price, which is really excellent. Okay, for the roast potatoes, you need a fluffy potato. So I've got a couple of baking potatoes here, which are really fluffy in texture. And I've got some goose fat. If you can't get hold of goose fat, you just use lard or cooking oil. But goose fat, if you're going to do it right, is the best way to do it. You're going to need some salt and pepper, and to form a crust on the outside of the fat cap on the rump roast is I'm going to use a bit of Coleman's English mustard powder, which is really excellent. You can just brush on French or German mustard on top of the joint if you so prefer. Alright, and to sit the beef joint on top of, I'm just going to cut down this onion and cut it into 2 halves, and then sit the beef roast over the 2 halves of the onion. It's very important to take your beef roasting joint out of the fridge for at least an hour to bring it up to room temperature before you start cooking it. Alright, and then it cooks more evenly and you don't get it really chilled in the middle and then burnt on the outside. And we're going to roast this for, I calculated this needs to roast for 1 hour and 25 minutes, 85 minutes in total. And that is because I'm cooking it for 15 minutes per pound, or 450 grams. And that makes a rare roast beef. I'm adding then 15 minutes on to make it medium rare for the whole joint. So 85 minutes for this particular one. The recipe is down below. See there, I've even put a link to my roast potato recipe as well. Right, the first thing we need to do is prep up this joint. Okay, you see what I've done here is I've just topped and tailed an onion, split it in half that way, and I'm putting it in the middle of my baking tray, and I'm sitting the beef on top of those, pressing down on it a bit just to make sure they stay. As that cooks, the onion will caramelise and it will start to brown, give a great flavour through the beef, and it will give some nice colour to the gravy when we eventually make that, but we'll show you that as we go. The first thing I want to do now is brush on that fat cap. I want to take out a couple of spoons of this goose fat, one on top, a couple in the pan. Goose fat has a very high flash rate, so it doesn't burn so readily. Alright, once we've got that on there like that, what I want to do is get on some of this English mustard powder. You can brush on or Dijon mustard if you like, but it's an English roast beef, and if you can get Coleman's mustard powder, this one, it is really superb. And as that bakes, it gives a nice crust to the fat cap. Just want to distribute that nicely over the top. All the time my oven is cranked all the way up to 240 degrees Celsius, because the first 20 minutes of this we want to be cooking really hot to get it sealed. So let's get all that covered. And on top of that, all we need now is some salt and pepper. Some pepper, plenty of salt. And the potatoes don't go in just yet. What we do is we parboil potatoes and cover those in goose fat, and then we add them to the roasting tin for the last 40 minutes of cooking time. Okay, that's prepped up nicely. Now all we have to do is get that into the oven at 240 degrees Celsius for the first 20 minutes of cooking time. Okay, while all that's happening, I'm just going to peel the potatoes. Alright, I've got the potatoes cut up, peeled and cut up. I'm just going to put in a couple of teaspoons of salt. It might seem excessive, but most of that salt gets tipped away with the water. And I'm just going to parboil that for around about 7 minutes. Alright, I've drained my potatoes and I've put some goose fat in there and some salt. Now I'm just going to fluff them up a little bit. Like that. And what that does, it roughens up the surface of the potato and it gives more surface area for the heat to work on and crisp them up. Okay, the potatoes are now ready, of course, for roasting. They go into the roasting tin alongside the beef for the last 40 minutes of cooking time. Okay, now we're at the 20-minute mark. I can turn down the heat on my oven to 190 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's slipped its mooring slightly. It's because I took off the elastic net that was holding the fat cap onto the beef. This is now 40 minutes before the end of cooking time, and I'm just going to drop in the potatoes now. Give it a quick baste. Right, that goes back in the oven, still at 190 degrees Celsius for the last 40 minutes. Alright, I've seen a lot of recipes on the internet for making Yorkshire puddings, and I've even put up a video for making toad in the hole, which is Yorkshire pudding batter with sausages. So I might show you a link to that above. And the way we make the best Yorkshire pudding I know is to use a cup of flour, a cup of eggs and a cup of milk. So we'll just do that. Put in the eggs and a cup of milk, and I just want to start to beat those into the flour to start with. Get them started up. And then incorporate my milk. And on top of that, you just want about half a teaspoon of salt. Get that in there, and we mix that into a smooth batter. Okay, once you've got it mixed to a smooth batter, you want to let that stand for about 15 minutes. Alright, while that's standing, I just want to put about a teaspoon of goose fat into each. You can also use the roasting tin fat into each of these. You need a bit of fat in there to start them off. And it's important that we get this hot before we put the batter into them. But I'll show you that as we do. We've got to finish cooking the beef, and then we'll put these in while the beef is resting. Alright, that's the end of the roasting time, and out comes the beef. And now we've done that, we want to get in the muffin tins and get them up to heat, so they need to go in there for about 5 minutes. The beef we just set aside now for about a minimum of about 20 minutes to rest. Okay, what I've done here is I've taken the hot muffin tins out. filled them up half full with the Yorkshire pudding batter. I managed to get 11.5 Yorkshire puddings out of my mixture, and that now goes into the oven at 190 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. Just keep your eye on it as they raise. Okay, we've taken the meat out of the pan, and as you see there's a lot of residue on the bottom of the pan. That's where all the flavour is, and I've left a little bit of the fat. I've drained off most of the fat, leaving a little bit left in the pan. I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of flour, ordinary all-purpose flour, and get that stirred in. It looks a mess to start with, but don't worry, it all comes good. Get that mixed in nicely, and then I've got about 10 ounces of beef stock, which I bought here, and I'm just putting that on there, and then I'll mix it to make my gravy. Don't worry about lumps at this stage, because we put this through a sieve and straight into our gravy jug, and it really is as simple as that. And we end up with a nice thick brown meaty gravy. Now that's what I'm talking about. And that's how your Yorkshire puddings should look. All I've got to do now is carve up the beef and serve it up. Okay, carving it seems like it's come out a little closer to medium well than medium rare, but I'm not complaining because it looks really good. So there we have it, beautiful roast beef, and there's always a privilege afforded the chef. First bites. Yum. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to follow my channel, please subscribe, and be sure to click the bell icon to receive notification of all my upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.